Welcome to Raw Talk, where I simply share my thoughts on what happened on last night's Monday Night Raw. Started off with a banger with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn together on the same page. Wasn't that a beautiful moment? I'm saying that because I'm assuming if you're listening to me that you have watched a show. I love it. I'm lost for words. This was absolutely amazing, but that wasn't even the best part of it, was it? It was the fact that they issued the Usos a challenge at WrestleMania for the WWE Tag Team titles. And at first, Jimmy was like, nah. And then Jay was like, no, let's do it. And so they did. They accepted. So at WrestleMania, oh man, this could be something. It's like between the bloodline, between Roman Reigns and the Usos, I have a feeling, maybe, we're going to see some titles change hands. But let's move on forward. This was awesome. Again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Literally, if you shave that hair off his chin and his face, he literally is dressed, looks, and has that attitude of a young newbie John Cena. And he defeated Montez Ford, which again, no disrespect to his tag team partner, I can totally see this guy just make it big and huge in singles competition someday. And when I say that, it sounds bad in a way because I almost kind of place tag teams as like secondary. They're just like under being a singles competitor. But that's only because it's a vibe that I feel. I don't feel like tag teams carry the same weight they used to back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Even maybe early 2000s. I don't know. There's just an atmosphere to it. I don't feel like it's the big times anymore. But anyhow, lovely match. I'm going to say this actually about Austin Theory. And I've praised John Cena a lot as the workhorse, the face, the franchise of the company for 2 decades. Like, I gotta admit though, and a lot of people don't see this, but Austin Theory actually has what it takes to be potentially a greater in-ring technician and competitor than John Cena. I love John Cena to death, but in many ways, John Cena and Hulk Hogan share some similarities. You see, when John Cena shakes the hand and says, "You can't see me," you also can't see more than 5 moves. Hence the moniker, the 5 moves of doom. Austin Theory has a plethora, a cornucopia of moves in his arsenal. And I seriously think at the age of what, 24? Oh man. I'm just going to move on. I'm just going to leave that there. And same goes for Montez Ford, man. That guy is nuts. He's amazing. Again, sometimes I'll just scroll over. If I don't really have much to say, I just don't have much to say. I'm just going to, I like Mustafa Ali, and it's not that I don't like Omos. Omos is interesting. It's always nice to kind of have a giant. But this whole David and Goliath bullshit squash match, I don't like it. Happened last week with a squash match, and I'll say it again. We don't need Omos to squash Mustafa Ali to make Omos more believable. You don't. You do the camera tricks, you lower the camera, you look up at him, you have somebody of regular height stand behind Omos a couple of feet, and in that angle, it's going to even astronomically more perpetuate just how much more of a giant he is. This was pointless. Again, it's nothing against the actual competitors themselves. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Anytime I trash talk anything, it's very, very rare that I'm actually trashing the actual person. Again, unless it's Ryback. Fuck yourself. But these guys, the match, just whatever. Logan Paul. Now, this was an interesting one because Logan Paul, you know, social media star, self-made millionaire. I've talked a lot of trash about him personally on my other YouTube channel. You know, the whole Japan thing, the forest thing, right? And a bunch of other stuff, him and his goofy brother Jake. But there's no denying that as much as there are a couple of dingleberry shit stains, they are quite talented. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And it was no different here. What was interesting about it is when Seth Rollins came out there and then, you know, he got knocked out again because Logan Paul's got that titanium fist. It reminded me of that story with the narcissist Lex Luger, if you remember that back in the early 90s, where Lex Luger's finishing move was the running bionic arm because apparently he had like titanium rods and that's what made it that he could knock people out. It just kind of reminded me of that. Again, I don't know if it's just story-based, if it's just a pitch, kind of like with the narcissist Lex Luger thing. But on his way out, what was really cool too, before I get to that, sorry, Logan Paul opened up his speech with, you know, no matter what I do in here, no matter how much I talk, no matter how much I beat up your superstars, I'm not getting the respect. There's maybe 2 people in here that love me, my mother, and maybe that kid over there. I love you too. I don't know. There was something about that was really, really amazing because oftentimes heels... Oh, and he turned down The Miz, which was really interesting. He's sort of like that in between, and I forget what they call that in wrestling, where he was like, yeah, no, I'm over that, and he just didn't shake The Miz's hand there backstage, was that he actually shook a couple of people's hands, you know, like just going by the crowd, you know, giving them the high five and all that. And like I said to that kid, he's like, I love you, man, you know, for the few people in here that might love me. Usually, you don't ever see that from a heel. Very rarely will you see a heel sort of go off script, if you will, and give a high five or a nod or any of that kind of stuff. It usually just doesn't happen. And the fact that Logan Paul did that, it was just kind of interesting. I thought that was a unique little spin on things. And when he was in the ring, he was like, you know what? I'm hosting my own impulsive TV show, kind of like Miz with Miz TV, etc., etc. And Jericho back in the day when he had his thing with the Jericho-thron television. How he actually is just like, you know what? I'm the star here. I don't need to call anybody on my show. I'm the one that's going to talk. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Dominic Mysterio defeats Johnny Gargano. I mean, I don't have much to say in regards to that. Other than I just get a kick out of watching Dexter Lumis in Gargano's corner. Just a very interesting character. I love Johnny wrestling. He's really talented. And again, I know I sound like a broken record. I am very intrigued to see the growth of Dominic Mysterio, who defeated Johnny Gargano in this match. Clean win. It's just literally going to be that as a second-generation wrestler, or is he a third? I think he's a second-generation wrestler. And I think it's also unique, too, because it's not too often that you'll see the second or third-generation wrestler, superstar, perform at the same time that their father sort of still is active. Rey Mysterio, correct me in the comments section if you know of some others. I just can't think of any right now off the top of my head. We'll have to get to some of the stuff on the side, too. Some of these things can be quite interesting here. What else do we got? Rhea Ripley defeats Bayley. Yeah, Bayley comes out with, I think it's Damage Control. And Rhea Ripley was doing her promo. Again, she's very good. And then she simply dominated. It sounds rude, but I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I very rarely get into watching the women wrestle. And I know that sounds bad, and I know a lot of people are like, And it's because back in the day, women were not utilized properly. Let's just be real. Pillow fights, bikini, baby oil, pool mat, like, come on. Mud wrestling. It was cringe. I don't care. It might have been like, but it was still cringy as And it's in recent years, like I said, that that's changed. Sometimes there's some competitors, both guys and girls, that get in the ring and it's like, okay, a little sloppy, and that can go both ways. And it's not until recently, like I said, in just the last couple of months, okay, with my main YouTube channel, that I didn't have a chance to actually watch every minute of every match. I would have to fast forward through a lot of the matches, guys and girls, just a whole show, watch the promos, just so I can kind of keep up to date with what's going on. Like, oh, okay, Roman still has the belt for the 3,753rd day or whatever, right? It wasn't until recently for both that I actually started watching the whole skit and skadoodle on the screen. And wow, I'm blown away, like I said, how far, the show as a whole with WWE has come with allowing women to showcase their talent. And that's what brings me to Rhea. Charlotte I've always watched, though, and Ronda Rousey. I have a soft spot for Ronda Rousey. And a few others, too, like Natalya. Like, there's a few out there that I would watch, but often I would just kind of, no offense, just skip a lot of the matches. But now I'm seeing that there's quite a few out there that can really go and really wrestle. And it's nice. It's very impressive. Anyhow, moving on with that. Two mega flying powerhouses that are Ricochet and Chad Gable. Chad Gable got distracted, lost to Ricochet because of this right here, with Ortiz being distracted here with, Maximum Male Models. I forget her name. I'm not going to lie. And now her head's blocked with the play button. She ended up escorting him out in the middle of his match. Anyways, he lost. Again, it's a joy to watch them because this is one of those instances where you're watching two actual technical wrestlers that are strong, that can move and just make it look fluid. Sort of like the whole HBK Bret Hart thing. Like, it's really, really good. I don't have much to say here other than, again, I'd never really bothered watching Bianca wrestle up until recently because I have more time now to dedicate to wrestling, to work on my channel, and it's like, I can see why she's a superstar. Like, holy guacamole. Just amazing. And she was teamed up with Asuka, who turned on her at the end. They defeated Chelsea Green, Piper Niven. Again, Piper used to be known as Dewdrop. I'm so glad they dropped the dew on that name, because it was just a pile of doo-doo and just called her Piper Niven. I don't know, it just sounds more something. And I'm kind of impressed by her. What was really impressive, actually, was Bianca at the end there, the KOD on Piper Niven. Man, she is strong, because with all due respect, Piper Niven ain't exactly... I'm trying to think of any wrestler. It's eluding my brain here, but she's not exactly light. So that was really cool to see. And she seems comfortable in the ring, too. And I always say that about, like, bigger people, whether it's, like, Dusty Rhodes or Earthquake or Typhoon from back in the day, or any bigger star, or Yokozuna. Well, Yokozuna was a little bit awkward, but he was actually a pretty safe wrestler. And then there was Nia Jax, who, with all due respect, I was never much of a fan of. And she seemed to be kind of on the unsafe side. And then there's been that talk before with people that aren't exactly fit looking. Can they still have the endurance and the energy to be able to be safe in the ring? And again, I have to admit, I am impressed with Piper. I mean, Chelsea's Chelsea. I mean, I'm glad she's back. I'm a huge fan of her husband. I think they're married. Woo, 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 you know it. Zack Ryder, a.k.a. Matt Cardona. Love that guy. He's always on Twitter and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, that was pretty sweet. And then the closing. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes exchange some words of war. And then at the end, Cody's like, what are you going to do when you don't have those titles? and your family leaves, Jay leaves, Jimmy leaves, Sola leaves. Solo leaves is Sola. There you go. And then they had a little quick boot to the noggin there that Cody gave him, and then Roman held him back, and it's just like that whole thing of, the whole build-up, right? I'm just... WrestleMania can't come quick enough. Let's just see if there's anything else I gotta add. Yeah, all that chat there. Roman's like, I love you, man, and... This was funny, too, where Seth was in the back when he cut off... Actually, technically didn't cut off Logan Paul's mic because Logan Paul was still talking throughout the whole time that Seth Rollins came out dancing with his music. He hit the button, at the backstage there and did that. Again, Dominic on the mic. Not too shabby. This has to be talked about. Edge. I mean, oh man. Probably for me, definitely like the promo of the night, of the week, of the month. Like, holy shitballs. But I'm not surprised. I expect that from Edge. He is like... It's like the Tom Cruise of promos, man. He's just so amazing, so believable. It's creeping me out just looking at his picture. But yeah, oh man. I really like that. I'm excited for that match as well. Predominantly, too, because even in WWE 2K23, you'll notice that Finn Balor doesn't have his demon attire, because since the whole Judgment Day thing and all that, he hasn't been doing the demon thing, but Edge says, I am the evil. Bring it. Bring your demon. And it's just like, uh-oh. Are we going to see, like, Demon Finn Balor for the first time in a very long time? Because I really like Demon Finn Balor. Just that whole paint, the whole getup. It's really neat. I miss it. And I also miss Finn Balor being face. I'm not used to him being heel. He's doing a good job. But I'm like, yeah, no. Damian Priest, all that, sure. There's just something about them. They naturally sort of ooze that heel to them. And then Edge can just go either which way. But, yeah, legitimately, and I'm not just saying this, because there are others where I was kind of excited, but not super overly excited for like a WrestleMania or any pay-per-view for that matter. Sometimes there's some where I find the card is a little bit underwhelming. There's like one or two moments where I'm like, whatever. This one, for the first time in a good few years, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever. I think this is going to be the first Mania in a good couple of years that I'm actually practically, legitimately looking forward to every single match on the card. Even Omos and Lesnar, to be honest. More so because I'm curious to see if the Beast, Brock Lesnar, is able to take Omos's ass to Suplex City. That's going to be something. Or if he can even give him an F5. We might need a little bit more juice there. We might need an F6. Get it? F5. The strength of the tornadoes. Because Lesnar, spins them. And F5 is the strongest tornado. But when it comes to Omos, you might need an F6. Anyways, forget all that. A lot of rambling. That's just what I do. And believe it or not, I actually really enjoy doing this. Like, a lot. Just being able to keep up, share what I think. They're definitely the videos that perform the least well on my channel. But it doesn't bother me. That doesn't deter me from wanting to do them. And the proof of that is you just have to look at my main my main YouTube channel. And you'll be able to see the dedication pushing on half a decade of content that I put out. And like I said, most of the stuff is all fluff. I get 20, 30 views a video. As a whole, the channel, sure, gets me around 250,000 views a month. Some decent pocket change there every single month. But as a whole, my day-to-day stuff that I pump out gets absolutely nothing. I don't even make a nickel on over 90% of what I put out. But I still do it because first and foremost, it's the passion. I've always wanted to have a talk show, whether it's to be like a Jimmy Kimmel or a Jimmy Fallon. Unfortunately, I'm not a Jimmy. I'm a Philly. I'm Phil. Okay? Can't have my own talk show. I always wanted to either be a wrestler, a manager, or the, play-by-play color commentators, they call it. And all of those roles within professional wrestling, I had an equal desire to do. But as you could tell, that's never happened, or you would recognize me, because it never came to fruition. So this is like the fifth best thing that'll ever come close to that, is just sort of having my own little wrestling show. And whether there's 2 people watching or 2,000 people watching, it's the same thing. It's just a hell of a lot of fun for me to watch wrestling. It's like my kind of a soap opera, and I'm sure it is for a lot of people, because Days of Our Lives and General Hospital, it's just not my kind of shit. This is my kind of shit. It's essentially my only shit. Alright, it's getting stinky in here. Enough talking. As always, if you like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It does greatly help support the channel with the algorithm. If you didn't like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs down. I'll bend it in half. I'll twist it. I'll break it off in your ass, and maybe one of them microphones too. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, I mean, naturally, that would be great. But if not, thanks for stopping by anyways. Take care. And maybe I'll see some of you in the next one. Bye for now.